Today we're talking about basics, so you know how to do the basic stuff and everything really looks nice and beautiful. Tablecloths. When I see a table and I see the tablecloths going like that, this is just drives me crazy. Make sure that the tablecloths on your tables are always even from every side. Usually it's 25 centimeters, but that's the basic rule. Every restaurant chooses their own tablecloths, so it could be 40, it could be 50, it could be anything, but make sure it's even on every side, everywhere. So when you put the tablecloth, it looks nice and even. That's the first thing. Now, if you have overlay, this is the side of the table with the tablecloth. The overlay always stays like that. Right in the middle, never under the tablecloth. So the overlay cannot be like that, guys. Never under the tablecloth. Two steps, that's it. You go to the table, you put the tablecloth, then you put the overlay, follow those steps, you're ready. You're ready to work with the chairs. Now, this is your table. That's your tablecloth here, hanging. And you bring the chairs. The front of the chair has to be exactly where the tablecloth stays. So not 2 centimeters inside or 2 centimeters outside. Tablecloth stays here, the front of the chair stays in front of the tablecloth. Now, if your manager tells you that you have to put the chairs all the way inside the table because of not enough space or whatever, that's okay. If the manager tells you, that's what you're gonna do. But if somebody tells you, set me up those tables without additional explanation, that's exactly what you're gonna do. Tablecloth finish here, the chair starts here. And that's all the chairs on the table. Make sure that the chairs is set right in the middle. Don't put it on the side, don't put it on the left, don't put it on the right. Right in the middle of the side of the table. So when the guest comes, he sits on the chair and he finds himself right in the middle of the table. Centerpiece. When you have a table of 4 with 4 chairs, the centerpiece stays right in the middle. And the salt and pepper shakers stay next to the centerpiece. And then what you've done here, you will do the next table and the next table and all the tables in the restaurant. So there is a symmetry. And when the guest comes, everything is lined up nice and beautifully, and there is symmetry in the restaurant. And trust me, the guests appreciate that. If you have taken care of your setup, he knows that you will take care of his evening, of his guest, dinner, everything, wine, and your relationship with the guest will be much, much easier. If you have a table of 2, we don't put the centerpiece in the middle. We're gonna put it on the side. So the centerpiece is gonna stay, usually table of 2 is next to the bar, next to the wall or something like that. and we're gonna put the centerpiece in the middle of this side that's next to the wall, and then the salt and pepper shakers here. And if we have table of 3, sometimes that also happens. You will use the empty side of the table with the centerpiece and the salt and pepper. This is the basic rules. Like I said, if your manager tells you something else, his head waiter tells you something else, you do exactly as they say, because every restaurant have their own system, have their own rules. So guys, we have set up the tablecloth, we have put the salt and pepper shaker, the centerpiece, and now we have to put the silverware on the table. Don't ever, I don't care if there are guests in the restaurant or not guests in the restaurant, do not carry the silverware like that in your hands, just putting it on the table. And for sure, never ever touch the silverware on this side where the guest is using it for the food. Never ever. Even if you wear gloves, still don't touch the silverware on this side, because even the gloves get dirty and then you get dirty the silverware and who knows what's going to happen. Now, the least you can do, if your restaurant is a really fast food restaurant that you have to run, you don't follow the rules, please use a napkin. Take a napkin and hold it like that. You go to the table, you open up your hand and you start putting the silverware on the table. But at least a napkin. Usually what we do, we arrange the silverware on a plate. You carry the plate with your hand. Usually I do it like that. Don't carry it like that with your fingers, because when you have a lot of silverware on this plate, it's heavy and you have to go around and put this silverware down. Your hand, your finger, everything will get tired. So what I do is I just hold it with my whole palm, put it on my palm, close to my body, and you can carry this much longer with much heavier weight and do your job faster. So we go to the table and we set up the silverware, touching the silverware always, usually 2 fingers, guys, right here, and just put it on the table. Now, basic rules: knives is always on the right side facing the napkin or the charger. Forks are always on the left side facing straight up. When you put the silverware on the table, I always start with the main course or the silverware that's going to be used last. Usually that's the main course. There are some special events that the main course is not the last meal that the guests are eating, but that's very, very rare. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the fork and the knife, and you're going to make sure that you are putting the fork and the knife and you leave space for a large dinner plate to be served on the table without covering the fork and the knife. I see many places, many waiters, hey, set up this table, and they just do it like that. How are you going to put a plate like that? Or they just do it like that. Why you need so much space? Then you don't have space for the butter teller, for the glasses, for the next guest, and saying like that. So guys, you have a plate, a dinner plate in your restaurant. You take the plate, you put it on a table. Anyway, a lot of places they are using chargers. You take the chargers, you put it on the table right in the middle where the guest's gonna stay. You take the spoon, the fork and the knife, and you put it next to it. Make sure that between the fork, the end of the fork and the knife, there are 1 inch, 1 thumb, 2 centimeters, any way you want it, but make sure that those forks and knives are not on the edge of the table, or for sure not out of the edge. Always 1 thumb, 2 centimeters, 1 inch space between the edge of the table and the silverware. All right? So what I do is I put the silverware first, the main course silverware first. I'll remove that for the demonstration. And now you know exactly how to set up the rest of the silverware. If you are working banquets and your banquet manager gives you a banquet sheet, function sheet, you're looking, oh, they're eating today soup, salad, main course, dessert. Wonderful. What are you going to put on the table? You're going to put silverware for soup, for salad, for main course, and for dessert. Let's do it. They're eating first the soup, then the soup stays on the right side, outside on the right. Then they're eating the salad. You put the knife for the salad and you arrange everything so there's enough space and there's the same space between the knife, between the spoon, and between the forks on the other side also. So don't put the knife like that, the other knife like that, the spoons like that, and things like that. That's not the appropriate way. You make sure that there's one line here on the right side and everything is set up straight and there's symmetry. Then you have on the left side spoon. We're eating only with the soup spoon, so you have for the soup only soup spoon, and for the salad and the main course you have a side salad fork and the main course fork. Now if you have two appetizers or you have a fish and meat and you're using 3 spoons or 3 forks and 3 knives, you can arrange it like that. You can arrange it like that, whatever is the system in your restaurant. But always the main course is inside, and then on the outside is always the first dish that we're gonna serve tonight. If they're eating the salad first and then the soup spoon is gonna stay between the salad knife and the main course knife. Now when you're arranging the forks like that, make sure that the edge of the main course fork is until the start of the teeth of the salad fork. So you're gonna do like that, and that's all it takes. When you have dessert, you're gonna put, depends on the dessert. Sometimes dessert is eaten only with fork, sometimes only with spoon. Usually what we do, we put a small fork and small dessert fork and dessert spoon on top, and where those things are staying, they're not staying in the middle of the table or here down, they're staying exactly where the salad fork ends. So the salad fork ends here, the line of the dessert silverware is right here. By the rule, we never put more than 3 knives and 3 forks on the table. If you're serving some very special dinner today and they are eating 8-course menu, everything that you need extra will be laid on the table when the guests are finished with the first 2 knives and 2 forks. Let's say you have Let's say you have 8-course menu. You have salad, you have soup, you have fish, you have meat, you have appetizers. What are you gonna do? You have 3 knives and 3 forks. The shrimp fork is something that's very small. I don't have it right now here, so it doesn't count as a fork. And the set fork also, it's not count on those 3. I'm talking about the silverware that stays on the left, on the right side of the guest. This is 3 forks and 3 knives. That's what you're allowed. When the guests are eating the salad, you pick up the salad fork and the salad knife with the plate and you remove it. Then the guests are eating the soups. You pick up the soup spoon with the soup and you remove it. The guests are eating the second appetizer. You remove the silverware for the second appetizer. And now you have left only the main course and the fork and the knife for the meat. But before the meat, we're gonna serve some fish dish to the guests. So what you're gonna do is you prepare a plate like that with fish knives and fish forks, and when everything is clean and we are about to serve the fish, you come to the guest and you start putting the fish fork and the fish knife on the table. And that's how we put the extra silverware. We don't put 5 knives and 5 forks on the table at the very beginning because the guests are going to need those 5 knives and 5 forks. We bring that extra later during the dinner after they're finished with their first 2 or 3 meals. Now, when you're setting the table, like we said, knife on the right, fork on the left, the set silverware on top. Don't forget, fork is always facing right and spoon is always facing left. There is also a little space. Don't put it together so the guest cannot take one silverware, one knife or one fork separate. There's always little space and always symmetry, guys. Always symmetry. Make sure that this is like that. Usually we use a charger in the middle, or we use a napkin. You fold a napkin, you put it in the middle between the silverware, and your table is set. Of course, you have to set up also the glasses. We, as a banquets, we usually use a water glass, and if they're drinking white and red wine, we're gonna put white wine glass and red wine glass on the table. If they're drinking just one wine, then you choose which wine they're drinking, white or red, and you put water glass and then red or a white wine glass on the table. The rule is that the glass that the guests are drinking first stays right on top of the main course knife. Usually this is the water glass, and that's how we set up our table. Then guys, how are you gonna set up your wine glasses? Depends on the restaurant. Usually what I do is I create a line. This is the classic setup on a 45 degrees from the water glass, from the knife, 45 degrees on the left side, and you put the white wine and you put the red wine. What that means? You have the knife here. You have the fork here. You put the water glass on top of the knife. You put the white wine glass, 45 degrees, and you put the red wine glass. And this is the classic setup. Those glasses can be arranged in many different ways. Because of the space, because of the likeness of the guests, or whatever the manager in the restaurant wants, you do it. You can put it in angle, water glass, white wine, red wine. That's also possible. You can put it like that. White wine, red wine. Many different ways. Whatever you choose, if it's your choice, just make sure that the table looks nice and every single glass is put the same way in front of the guest. Or whatever your manager says, that's what you do. But the first glass that the guest will drink from stays always here first on top of the main course knife. Pretty much that is all you need to know about setting up the table, guys. Now there is another thing. When we set up a banquet table or a dinner table, we usually put a butter plate and a butter knife on the table. So there are a couple of different ways. You can put it here. Right on the corner between the dessert silverware and the forks. The classic setup is you put the knife, the bread plate and the butter knife right next to the forks. Make sure that it doesn't go out of the edge of the table, and make sure that the knife that's placed on the plate, on the right side of the plate, right next to the forks, and they're lined up also together. This is the rule. All right? Nice and easy. Nothing stressy, nothing that's to be worried about. Just make sure that you know exactly the glass where it stays, the fork where it stays. Try it at home, try it at the restaurant a couple of times. It will be perfect. Make sure that you just put the effort, because guys, it's very, very important to do the things right. Imagine you have a setup of table of party of 100 people. The manager gives you the function sheet and tells you set it up. You go, you spend 3 hours setting up silverware, setting up plates, setting up glasses, and comes the manager, look at the freaking thing and says, what the hell you just did? This is so terrible. Everything out, set it up properly. And you just wasted 2 hours. You're gonna be in a lot of troubles. So make sure that you know exactly which silverware, where it stays, how it stays. You leave enough space. You need silverware for the dessert. You put it right there where the fork and the forks finished. And those little details, your symmetry is right. And every single chair, every single tablecloth, everything has to be the same in the restaurant, in the ballroom, anywhere you make a setup. This is what it matters. You put an effort, and when the guests come, they see that those guys are doing an amazing job. They have prepared everything perfectly. They will do a good job for us to take care of our dinner, and we can enjoy our meal here. That's it. Make sure, guys, you read the PDFs. Make sure you watch the extra videos. There are a lot of more explanations on the extra videos. And yes, watch for the test. I will send the test in the emails. Make sure that you fill those, and I will see how you're doing. Have you learned something, or we are making still a lot of mistakes? Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful evening. If you work hard, make good money, stay out of trouble, and enjoy life. Thank you.